Welcome. It's Indisputable. I'm your host, Richey. Good to be with you. We have a lot on the agenda today. Breaking down news of the day, none other than Dina Sayegh, who is a law and crime legal analyst. Should be a fascinating breakdown. First story of the day, Senator Raphael Warnock wins, Herschel Walker loses. Herschel damn Walker, excuse me. So this was really interesting. Not only does Senator Warnock win, Donald Trump's company is found guilty of tax fraud. And I got some other things that are worthy of note. Let's go directly to the victory speech, part of that from Senator Warnock.
It is my honor to utter the four most powerful words ever spoken in a democracy. The people have spoken. I want to say thank you to my mother who is here tonight. You'll see her in a little while. But she grew up in the 1950s in Waycross, Georgia, picking somebody else's cotton and somebody else's tobacco. But tonight she helped pick her youngest son to be a United States Senator. Are you ready, Georgia? I'm ready. Stand up for workers. To stand up for women. To stand up for our children. I'm ready to build a stronger Georgia. God bless you. Keep the faith and keep looking up.
Amen. Now, Herschel Walker gave his concession speech. Here it is.
I got a chance to meet all you and to hear what you guys feel about this country. And I got a chance for you guys to tell me what you feel about this country. I got a chance to go into your homes, got a chance that you invested in Herschel Walker. And I thank you. And I thank you so much. And as I said, we can't blame no one because I want you to continue to believe in this country, believe in our elected officials, and most of all, stay together. Don't let anyone separate you. Don't let anyone tell you that we can't, because I'm here to tell you we can. And I'm here to tell you we can. And as I said early on, God is good. And he's a good God all the time. He's a good God. So I want to say, I'm never going to stop fighting for Georgia. I'm never going to stop fighting for you because you're my family. Because I always... I'm a winner. Hey, we all winners, so we're all winners, and that's what I want to say. We're all winners, and I want to say God is a good God. God bless you guys, and let me tell you, stay together, continue to believe in our elected official. Always cast your votes, no matter whatever is happening. Cast your vote for all that, and God we trust. I do, and God we trust. Continue to cast your vote. Never give up. All right. God bless you guys. Thank you guys. Now, thank you.
Sorry, Herschel, you are a loser. And you are a loser in more ways than one. I will say this about his speech. It was actually the most coherent speech he made during the entire campaign. I believe that Herschel Walker was relieved that he lost. I think he was ready to lose. I think he was ready to make that speech and continue moving on with his life. Now, here's the thing. Just as the Republicans attempted to manipulate black voters in the state of Georgia by putting up a black face with a bigoted white agenda, they manipulated him too. They exploited him as well. As a matter of fact, his son, Herschel Walker's son, called it out. Let's put up the picture of Christian Walker, who became part of this campaign. On Tuesday night, Christian Walker took to Twitter to castigate his father in a series of tweets. Don't beat women, he said. Hold guns to people's heads. Fund abortions. Then pretend that you're pro-life. Stalk cheerleaders. Leave your multiple minor children alone to chase more fame. Lie. lie, say stupid stuff, and make a fool of your family, he wrote. And then maybe you could win a Senate seat, his son says. Now, what happened here? I know Democrats are celebrating in the state of Georgia, rightfully so. But let me go ahead and provide some context for you. Herschel Walker literally was the worst candidate they could find. You have proven in the state of Georgia, you can beat a rock running for the US Senate. The reality is this: the demographics of Georgia still favor a Republican nominee. You still have a Republican governor, lieutenant governor, secretary of state, commissioner of labor, attorney general, and the list goes on. Yes, we have Senator Warnock. Yes, we have Senator Ossoff, but don't think the natural demographics are going to be enough. You have to become more aggressive. Warnock wins, yes, it's a victory, but it is a slim victory with one of the worst candidates the Republicans could find. Additional news, Donald Trump, his organization, found guilty. Let me give you some background to this. A Manhattan jury has found that the Trump organization, they are guilty on multiple charges of criminal tax fraud. Now you hear the word, it says criminal tax fraud and falsifying business records connected to a 15-year scheme to defraud tax authorities by failing to report and pay taxes on compensation for top executives. The Trump Corporation and Trump Payroll Corp were found guilty on all charges they faced. You may be wondering, well, wait a minute. So who's going to jail? We see the word criminal, we see the word fraud, we see the word tax. Who's getting locked up? Because I guarantee you, if this would have been the report on me, you, anybody else, somebody would be going to prison. So is Donald Trump going to jail? Is his children? Who? Donald Trump and his family were not charged in this case, but the former president was mentioned repeatedly during the trial by prosecutors about his connection to the benefits doled out to certain executives, including company-funded apartments, car leases, and personal expenses. All right, that's criminal conduct. And the Manhattan DA has somewhat vacillated on the idea of actually prosecuting people in the Trump organization, including Donald Trump himself. The proof is here, no question about it. Either we are a democracy where no one is above the law, or that's just a slogan that means absolutely nothing. The president has constitutional authority. A former president does not. I'm still baffled. How did Republicans get Bill Clinton under oath while he was president of the United States, but they can't do it to Trump when he's no longer president of the United States? Also, the Trump organization could face a maximum of $1.61 million in fines when sentenced in mid-January. Oh, great, the company will be sentenced in mid-January. The company is not at risk of being dismantled. Why? Because there is no mechanism under the New York law that would dissolve the company. However, a felony conviction could impact its ability to do business or obtain loans or contracts, and they will simply incorporate a new entity and move on. That's what would happen, okay? Now, if you recall, a few months ago, I had a conversation with Congressman Ro Khanna. This was about the January 6th committee and their unwillingness to submit a real criminal referral to the Department of Justice if they find criminal malfeasance. I said to the congressman on the show, if the DOJ finds in their investigation that a crime took place, they need to make a criminal referral to the prosecutors at the DOJ. Now remember the context of that conversation. This was during the time when one member of the committee said no referrals like that would be made, and another member of the committee said, hold your horses. We did not make that decision as a group yet. And so the congressman came on the show and I said, this needs to happen. Here's part of that. Why do you think there's this hesitancy to, if they uncover criminal activity, to relay it to the DOJ in an official committee capacity?
Well, they should relay their findings officially to the Justice Department. I think what they can't do is recommend to a prosecutor whether to charge someone or not, and that's just congressional ethics.
All right, so during that interview, I disagree with the congressional ethics. It's a made-up rule. It's not written anywhere. It's just something they do, okay? Now, what has happened? The House Select Committee, they have agreed to make criminal referrals to the Department of Justice at the conclusion of their investigation into the January 6th insurrection. And legal experts expect Donald Trump will be one of their targets. All right. Attorney at law, Dina, how do you see all of this?
I've always thought that Donald Trump would be the first president to kind of be convicted in jail, whether or not he's actually ever serves a sentence. But certainly I would say the circle is tightening. Now with the January 6th referral, I think we're going to for sure see some of his attorneys be indicted. And this is a pattern. We already saw Michael Cohen, one of his attorneys, convicted, even though Donald Trump was the other side of that campaign violation, but he never got implicated on that. Mar-a-Lago, we're gonna see one of the attorneys they're gonna claim they falsified the affidavit. So a lot of times, being an attorney, I know you're going to be an attorney soon. A lot of times the attorney is the one who kind of takes the fall. I think we're going to see that here. Whether or not they can kind of pierce that and go to Donald Trump himself, I think matters more probably like the political will, because indicting a former president is so huge. I think though that the Republicans will be more supportive of that, maybe quietly and behind closed doors, but basically the DOJ will have done the work for them, because I think they know that at this point, President Trump would not be a good nominee. If he's indicted, that certainly paves the way for Ron DeSantis. And that is why I think there's more hope for Donald Trump to be indicted than maybe ever before, because I actually think both parties are kind of aligned in holding him accountable, maybe for different reasons. Then the question becomes, will a jury of 12 people ever even convict him? I think that's a whole separate matter, especially if we're talking about Mar-a-Lago and it's in Florida. Will 12 people in Florida be willing to convict President Donald Trump? So we're a long way, but I do think that there's so many things, the Georgia, the DOJ, the Mar-a-Lago. I think he will end up getting indicted in one of those at least, because I do think there will be a political will across the aisles for that.
I concur with your point about the fact that he may in fact be the first former president to be indicted. I agree with that. And I've also held the sentiment that who would convict him? What jury would actually convict Trump, given the very political nature of who he is and what it is, meaning the indictment. But I'm somewhat encouraged by the fact that the current investigation is truly being led by a jury. It's called the grand jury. So there are people in a group context who are reviewing evidence and saying, this is wrong, and I don't give a damn that he's the former president of the United States. And we'll continue to follow that as it develops. A racist bartender, all right, decides to physically assault a black woman and call her racial slurs. That sentencing has just gone down. I'm going to remind you of what happened and then give you the background. Here it is.
Bro, that car was sitting here facing the wrong way, and her homegirl walked in.
Bro, you're in big trouble, bro.
Hey, bro, chill, bro. That's a female.
He could have killed her. He had in his right hand, go back and look at the video. He had in his right hand a gun, okay? He did get arrested. Put up the pictures full mass here. A Dallas County jury has now found a former bartender guilty of obstruction and assault for this incident. This actually went down in 2019. Justice has been deferred for a few years. Austin Sheffield, on the left, was indicted on 2 felony counts and 2 misdemeanor charges for assaulting Diajonique Lee, 27 years of age, on the right. This was a parking lot incident that led to what you saw. While Sheffield was found guilty on 1 count of obstruction and another count of assault, he was actually found not guilty on the charge for aggravated assault with a deadly weapon. As I said before, you clearly see he has a gun in his right hand. Sheffield was initially charged with interfering with an emergency call and misdemeanor assault before public outcry led to the police upgrading the charges. So what happened here? He does that to a black woman. He does not get charged appropriately. We make noise about it. All of a sudden, the charges get upgraded. The incident only made national headlines after police initially charged Lee with criminal mischief for breaking the rear window of Sheffield's truck. Following their argument, charges were eventually recalled by the DA. Let me give you details, background. Lee was going the wrong way down a one-way street in the Deep Ellum neighborhood. This was March 21st of that year. She was dropping off a friend, she said. Sheffield was trying to leave a parking lot. He tried to take a picture of her license plate. Lee, 24 years old, threatened to mace him if he did not back away. WFAA reported, citing a police affidavit. A bystander video is what really made the difference. It captured what happened next. Sheffield, who is a white male, clutches a pistol at his side and steps toward Lee, who is black. She pulls out her phone to dial 911. Sheffield swats the phone to the ground. That is criminal. And Lee connects a punch. Then Sheffield winds up for at least 5 hard blows to Lee's head, sending her reeling. Then he kicks her phone down the street. Lee also accused Sheffield of calling her racial slurs and making other racist remarks. Lawyers for Sheffield argued that the incident was not a hate crime and insisted that he did not make a racial slur toward Lee. However, Lee and her attorneys have said otherwise. Sheffield was initially arrested and released. The case was later handed over to a special prosecutor for presentation to a grand jury. Now let me talk about the gun for a minute. In the cell phone video captured, this was captured once again by a nearby witness. Sheffield can be seen wielding a gun at his side during the altercation, though it wasn't enough to sway that jury. As part of a plea deal, Sheffield received a 120-day jail term for assault, a 5-year prison sentence for obstruction, and probation for 2 years. Understand how this worked out. As it relates to his assault against the black female, please note, he got off light. And even before that, he was going to get off completely without any penalty truly connected to that crime until people spoke up. It is important. When you see something that's not right, you gotta say something. I'm thankful that the bystander said, I see an argument, I'm going to start recording. You just never know. You never know. Every friend that I have, they know if I'm in the car with them or if they are riding with me, if there's someone pulled over, we're stopping the car. We will be a safe distance away and I start recording. I do this 100% of the time. I don't care if I'm late for my appointment, my engagement, whatever it may be, I'm simply going to be late because we're going to do that every single time. It's too dire. It's somebody's life on the line. All right, Ms. Dahl, thoughts on this?
I mean, it's really sad that you have to do that and it's somebody's life on the line. It's really sad. But I do think that these video images are really making officers accountable and because really things are hard to prove in court. There's a lot of perception. It's really easy for lawyers to poke holes with those kind of things. But when you have video footage like that, that becomes like the best evidence in court. And in terms of the aggravated assault, probably the reason why that wasn't able to stick is because although he had the gun, he didn't use the gun. And not even necessarily that he didn't shoot her, but even if he had used the gun, to hit her on the head, he would have gotten that charge, because you can argue that somebody is using a deadly weapon, even if it's not necessarily a deadly weapon, but they use it in a way that can cause somebody serious harm or death. And so since he didn't use it at all, that's probably how his lawyers were able to get him off on that charge.
What's really interesting, and we see this routinely, is that there's this sentiment many times when a white male or even a white female is charged, there's an effort to either minimize the charges to the bare minimum or not overcharge at all. But then an African American is charged, black or brown person, there's this sentiment to overcharge them, to make the charges extreme, knowing many of them would not stick, and then making them fight to get those charges dropped. I'm sure you've seen that as somewhat of a routine now in many criminal justice systems throughout the country.
I mean, we've seen it in a lot of the cases that we've covered here. And I think a big part of that and how you address that is having more diverse prosecutors in a prosecution office, right? Because prosecutors only bring charges they think they can win, because their reputation is on the line. And prosecutors usually like to say that they are kind of like undefeated, right? Or that they have won every trial. That's very common among prosecutors. It helps them kind of with their own career. So if they think that the defendant has maybe a more high-powered lawyer on the other side, they're going to maybe question what kind of charges they're going to bring. So a lot of it too is like economics, and why we have also talked about how important it is to bolster the public defender's office in order to create equity in the justice system, because public defenders are amazing, but really they have too many cases.
Yeah.
And the prosecutors know that. And so they know that it may be easier to bring more charges. You're just gonna overwhelm that defense attorney even more. And I think that interplay is how we see that happen and why we see that happen.
All right, we appreciate that analysis. I do concur with you. We have an exclusive. This is going to make you scratch your head and wonder why. Okay, black male accused of a crime. He says he didn't do it, he's at work. Police end up coming to his home, taking his phone, wiping it, according to him. Let's go to the video, here it is.
Oh, we're gonna have to come in. Who's here with you?
Me and my children.
Just you and your child. How many kids do you have?
3.
3. Okay, they sleeping?
2 of them sleeping, 1 at work.
Well, we don't want to wake them up. Who is your wife or fiance? I don't know her relationship.
My wife.
Your
She's
wife?
not here.
Okay, is she working? Or?
She's working.
Okay. All right. Well, we're gonna have to come in just to make sure nobody else is here other than your kids. But we'll sit down and talk. Morning.
According to Mr. Dudley, the police took his phone and then they wiped it. Let's put up his picture full mass here. I will give you the background. Once again, this is an Indisputable exclusive. Poconos Mountain West Junior High School in Pennsylvania fired custodian Galvin Dudley after he complained that a white colleague called him the N-word. When Dudley told her he had just recorded her racist outburst, he says she then threatened to have him arrested. Arrested for what? Well, wiretapping. Let me give you background. A student lost their wallet. Dudley says school administration asked him to come to their office for computer training. He goes to the office for computer training. When he arrived, administrators and others accused him of taking the wallet. Dudley said, and I quote, "I am not a thief. Kids leave expensive things every day, but I don't take anything. I've never committed a crime. My colleague explicitly said, are you trying to use your color to get out of this situation? That's when I started recording, according to Mr. Dudley. Then she said it again. In my experience, most of you N-words try to use your color to get out of situations. When Dudley said he had recorded that comment, he had recorded that statement when he said, listen, I just recorded you saying that. He then says she threatened to get the district attorney involved, and shortly after that incident, the police arrived at his home with that, a warrant. Look at it, black and white. Dudley complained about the interaction to the school superintendent, among others. Dudley says he was fired without explanation. Police came to Dudley's home, took his phone. They had a warrant to collect it, just as the administrator told him it would happen. He says they told him if he did not give them the code to his cell phone, they would further charge him with interfering with their investigation. Yesterday, he also filed a written complaint at the station. Now, Dudley had a Samsung 11 phone. When he went to retrieve his documents and images from Google Drive, he says every piece of data was wiped, all of it. Why would police delete data about a crime of wiretapping if they had evidence? Question mark. Here's what Dudley said. This is a quote. I never thought I would get in trouble for someone else calling me the N-word. I felt like I was going crazy. They accused me of being a criminal when she was the one behaving criminally. Now let me go ahead and provide additional context here, okay? He was never charged with theft. He was never charged with wiretapping. But for some reason, there's a warrant to get his phone, search it. They deleted the information. He cannot retrieve anything. Still, no charge. Still, absolutely no criminal investigation, as we can see. Dr. Elizabeth Robeson, let's put up the pictures here. Superintendent of schools. And the police chief, Chris Wagner, right? You're looking at them. Buck stops with them. They are in charge. School system, police department. The district communications director, Wendy Frabel, says she is looking into the allegations and is preparing a response for Indisputable. After Indisputable contacted the police department. Now, why do we contact the police department? We always contact everybody involved. We send them an email, we request comment, statement. We tell them, we're gonna do this story. Would you like to tell us your side? So we contacted the police department. What happened? The police went back to Mr. Dudley's home today. Went back to his home to intimidate him after we contacted the police. Now, this happened this morning. They're bullying this man. They're bullying this man. I'm glad I have Ms. Dahl on the show to talk about Fourth Amendment violations. The man has constitutional rights that supersede whatever local statute, ordinance, or culture you all may have.
No,
Damn,
absolutely.
keep playing this game. Go ahead, Ms. Dahl.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And really, I would love to see what crime they're alleging he committed on that search warrant. Do they say wiretapping on there? It is true that some states make it a crime to record somebody. Some people require two-party consent. California is one of those states. I'm not quite sure what a state is there. But to your point, let's say the search warrant does say that that is the crime they're alleging he committed. They've erased all the evidence, which seems to be the exact opposite of what you would do. And so I think that he has a really good claim of harassment. by the police officers. Police misconduct, police harassment, maybe even some sort of like invasion of privacy, maybe even theft of his personal goods because they have deleted everything of his, which I don't understand how there could be any legal reasoning for that. If the crime they're alleging is wiretapping, it's possible the police might say they mistakenly deleted it, right? I mean, how can you prove otherwise? But the fact that they came again to him this morning, I think he has a good case for harassment.
Yeah, and also intimidation, obviously, which is something that we deal with when things like this happen in small communities. All right, we're going to continue to stay on top of the story. Believe that. We got more on the other side. It's Indisputable. Stick and stay. All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left. Let me read some of these amazing comments. And beyond the comments, we also have some updates. All right. I appreciate everyone who continues to opine during the program. All right. And don't forget, you can always join Indisputable on the YouTube page. TYT 20th year. All right. Make this happen. 20 years fighting for positive change. We have a new member exclusive short documentary. Get an inside look as Jank, Anna, John, and JR reflect on the past, present, and future. All right, that's on December 9th. If you're not a member, let's make that happen. All right, very easy. TYT.com/join. Okay, got a lot of comments. Mickey C. the Silverhead Dragon says, Walker sounded almost human, very restrained, under control. He never stopped fighting for Georgia, ? So he's not going back home to Texas? He was on the first flight back to Texas, believe that, okay? Stop Dragon says, no kind of man strikes a woman and the idea of drawing a gun is insane. This racist slag was looking to murder a black person, period. She could have died, yeah. This is A1X. Isn't accessing the cloud storage account and deleting his files on Google Drive amount to a federal wire fraud? I don't think it's wire fraud, but I get your direction. Since they would need to use his identity to access it. And I think what they did is basically coerced the man to give up his information to unlock the phone. All right, thank you so much. Snack_Panther, member for 3 months, we'll appreciate you. The Trump org found guilty, but one person is going to jail for 5 months and a $1.7 million fine. This country is foul, exactly. All right, not that Karen_Dragon. Thank you so much for being a member for 5 months. Hey, doctor, who does the woman know at the police station to have so much pull? Well, she said during the argument, she knew the DA, according to the victim in that story, right? Okay, got something for everybody. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish a Karen would.
You wanna call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free, back off!
I'm gonna tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
Please come here. Yes, can you get the police here, please? Wonderful. Wonderful. Help me! Fire! Help me! Help me! Help me! Why are you videotaping this? What are you like? Should we call ISIS here? Oh my God! So that's like ICE. That's a problem. My skin color is your problem.
She's a kindergarten teacher.
And you're a kindergarten teacher. Oh my God! Really? Oh my God! Really? Does that trigger you? That does not trigger me.
Yeah, that's me. You're probably wondering how I ended up in this situation.
Wonderful. Should we call ISIS here? Oh my God! So that's like ICE. That's a problem. My skin color is your problem.
She's a kindergarten teacher.
And you're a kindergarten teacher. Oh my God! Really? Does that trigger you? That does not trigger you. What is wrong with you? What the hell is wrong with you?
Yeah, very sad. You have a child there, you have a person who allegedly is a kindergarten teacher, acting in that manner, being inappropriate, violent, bigoted. Let's put up the mugshot, the picture, the profile. According to the Post, her name is Sandra Jean Allen. And let me tell you why this is imperative to pause and pay attention to this moment. As a school teacher, she is shaping the perception that children will have of themselves. That's the power of an educator. This shaping takes place on conscious levels and subconscious levels, based on how the teacher interacts with the student. I remember when I was in the 3rd grade. In the 3rd grade, I could use both of my hands the exact same way. Ambidextrous, they called it. My school teacher, good-hearted, meant well. She said, you gotta pick a side here. And I did. So today I'm left-handed because of that. Now, that's not malicious. She thought she was telling me something helpful. But it was one comment from a school teacher that limited how I use my hands. That is education. That's part of it. It's a social development exercise as well. A person who has this kind of racism inside of them, imagine what comments they're making. Imagine the bias that they are expressing, and imagine how it shapes the mind of a young person in front of them. Dina, what are your thoughts here?
I agree with you about teachers. They are so influential. It is the most noble profession, and we certainly do not give them the credit that it's due. And I think it's because they're dealing with children. And I've said a few times, children are not respected and given, I think the support from this country that they deserve. And because teachers deal with children, they are often ignored. And the thing is right now is teachers are like in the middle of a battlefield right now. The Republican side is saying that they are doing all sorts of, education, that they're not doing, that they disagree with. And I feel like really sorry for teachers right now. And I hope that this doesn't dissuade them from going into the profession, because we really need young, energetic people with empathy and compassion and the ability, like you said, to see diversity and meet it with each individual need. And I know it's hard when they have big classes, but that's what we need in this country. And maybe there's somebody out there who's thinking about being a teacher, and I say go for it. We need some good ones.
We need some good ones. I'm a former high school teacher myself. My mother, who adopted me, is still currently a high school teacher. She was a high school teacher when she adopted me. The vast majority of educators, very good people. I love good teachers, do not like the bad ones. All right, we got more on the other side. It's Indisputable. Stick and stay. All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left. Let me read a couple of these amazing comments. I got to look into this because I think you're right. A1X says, if his files were deleted from his Google Drive as well, then they were not just deleted on his phone, but it means the police logged into his Google Drive account and used the access that was supposed to be limited to the account holder, deleted files that were stored remotely on Google servers. Even if there was no evidence of the original crime on the phone, there should be a record of actions taken on his Google Drive account by what device still saved on Google's cloud server. Google could likely even recover it if a real investigation were opened and a subpoena issued. And it can certainly be proven that the files were deliberately deleted, since removing cloud files would have to be done independently of a device reset. We're gonna reach back out to him. I think we may need to help this brother get an attorney. Okay, all right. Let me do one more. C. Michael Henson, thank you so much, C. Michael, for both. ISIS, I think she meant ICE. We have enough terrorists in this country. Maybe many have badges. Doc, I kind of knew you were left-handed. I am too. And since the left side of the body is controlled by the right side of the brain, the only left-handed people in the world are in their right minds. I say that all the time. When somebody says, "Oh, you left-handed?" I say, "Yeah, I'm in my right mind." Yes. All right. Got something for you. Double dose.
You want to call the police on them for having a barbecue on a Sunday.
I feel free. Back off.
I'm going to tell them there's an African-American man threatening my life.
My husband and I had an encounter with our first Karen today in our new subdivision. Past Columbus, Georgia.
Ain't no daycare center, nothing. Of course.
Are you automatically assuming it's a daycare because we're African Americanism?
Because of what I've seen so many.
If you saw a coroner, if you saw a coroner, there has been a death in my family.
That was Sunday.
My niece is dead, so therefore we have family out of town. We have military people that are in our family. My mother, my father, my sister's father. We are a close-knit family.
Like that's very.
So what you will not do is disrespect this house where we pay.
You will not.
What you will not do. Well, you can.
My neighbor.
There's
here 5 years.
So what? So what?
You won't.
Oh, I've been waiting to run into a Karen. I've been waiting to run into one of you.
No,
I've been waiting to run into one of you.
See those police, those.
So what? It's okay. Don't disrespect her. Don't disrespect her. No, that's what she wants you to do. Don't give her what she wants. What you will not do.
Here, I'm sorry for your loss.
Yeah, so you can march your ass back to your residence.
Tell me where.
Back to your residence.
My house.
Bye.
Call the police.
Go ahead. Go ahead. And I got you on camera. Go ahead, Karen. Bye. Bye. Call them. Matter of fact, y'all call the police. Call the police, Didi.
Ask every neighborhood what's going to happen.
Nothing. Are you threatening me? Are you threatening me and my family?
Man, we're not your typical black family.
We're not your typical African Americans. So what about us being black? So what?
Let me do this. Let me do it this way. Put up the picture for a master, the Karen, who decided to harass her neighbors, claim that they were running some type of illegal business outside of their home. You see, this Karen believes, as she said, this is her neighborhood. She's been there 5 years, according to this Karen. This was not a shared community based on her own proclamation. This was, in fact, her community, and obviously the black couple, they are there as a courtesy. A courtesy was extended by this Karen. That is the sentiment of many of these Karens, that the world revolves around them. And when they want to stop the world from revolving, they can. They can always just ask for your freedom papers or make you justify why you are existing in the world. Let me say this also on the other side. When I heard the black couple say, we are not your typical black family, and I want to make sure this is accepted in the spirit that I submitted. What the hell does that mean? Not your typical black family. I don't understand that. You don't have to justify any of your existence at all. You don't have to create a caveat, a nuance about you're not like other black folk. Doesn't matter, you are legally there. You have a right to be there. Just as every other culture, every other race, every demographic under the sun. We all have differences, variety that makes us we are. Okay, this was one of those instances, again, where it seems as if somebody who does not like a black family inside of a particular neighborhood wanted to flex their muscles. What are your thoughts here?
No, I absolutely agree. And it's the systemic structural racism from the years that I think gives people the feeling that it is their neighborhood. Because for years, with redlining and everything, that was the case. And I just thought you put it so eloquently, she was acting like she was doing a courtesy to them. Mm-hmm. And I think too, we talk a lot about like the bigger political issues. And this is a really good example of how one neighbor against another neighbor cannot even communicate without being offensive. Like, And until I think we can change, even if she came with certain views, like to be open, to be willing to treat somebody with common courtesy and respect and the dignity of another human being from one person to another. And I think if we did that, each conversation we did that, then the big political things would almost go away, because we all have flaws. We all we're raised with perspectives that maybe we need to let go of. But how we talk to each other really matters.
Yeah, very well said. Black grandmother raided. Here's some of the video.
Denver Police Department with a search warrant. You come to the door with your hands up.
Before I have a seat back, do you have anything on you you're not supposed to?
Huh?
Do you have any guns or knives? No.
Oh no, I don't have.
Come sit back here. We're gonna tell you what's up.
So nobody else is in the house, man?
No, nobody else is in the house.
Okay, so they got a search warrant for your house. Okay, there was some evidence that they believe is in the house. So I'm gonna walk you over there and we're gonna talk to some detectives, okay? Once we can make some more announcements, just give me a minute and double check that nobody else snuck in the house on you, okay?
Okay.
Snowblower.
Put up the picture of Miss Ruby Johnson. Miss Ruby Johnson, once again, 77 years of age. I'm a 41-year-old male. Having something like that happen in my home would have absolutely created significant anxiety for me. I cannot imagine what it did for her. 77 years of age. Let me give you the background. Denver PD SWAT arrived at Ruby Johnson's home to search her property. They had a warrant based on false or faulty information. A lawsuit has now been filed in county court last week. It claims the Denver grandmother, Ruby Johnson, was subjected to this full-on SWAT raid because a detective used a screenshot from the inaccurate Find My Phone app. Yeah, or Find My iPhone app. And then was able to get a judge to sign a warrant based on an app that tells you we could probably be wrong. The app says it, all right? Ms. Johnson, with the help of the ACLU Foundation, this is in Colorado, the ACLU of Colorado. They're now suing the detective responsible for an unspecified amount of damages as well as coverage for the attorney fees. Per the suit, Ms. Johnson experiences anxiety living alone as it is and is afraid to answer the door now. And she even assured officers she kept her doors locked all the time for that reason, because she has an anxiety issue. Let me give you details. Retired service postal worker, Ruby Johnson, 77 years of age, was home alone watching TV January 4th when she heard an air horn followed by a voice amplified by a speaker ordering all occupants of her home to walk out with their hands up. Dressed in a bathrobe and house slippers with a bonnet on her head, she walked out the front door of her home and was met by an armored truck, marked vehicles, military-clad officers holding rifles, and even had a canine dog ready. Why did this happen? The officers were there to execute a warrant obtained by Detective Gary Stabb, who had been investigating a truck that was stolen on January 3rd that contained $4,000 in cash, a tactical rifle, 4 handguns, a revolver, 2 drones, and most importantly, to the detectives' investigation, an iPhone 11. During a phone interview with the truck's owner the morning after the truck was stolen, the detective was told that the iPhone's location had last been pinged at Johnson's home twice using Apple's Find My app before disappearing. Though the owner was unable to find the phone or the stolen truck himself when he drove by, he told the detective that he suspected it could be parked in the garage of the 77-year-old woman's home. All right, that's it, fellas. He said he thinks it's over here. Let's go ahead and get SWAT. Let's get guns. Let's get a dog. All right, let's get our armor. Damn it, did you even check to see who lived at the house? Did you just pull the deed? The woman worked for the post office for a whole adult life. Nobody questioned this. Nobody said, wait a minute, guys, wait. According to our investigation, there's a damn near 80-year-old woman inside of here. The detective used a screenshot of the phone's alleged location, and the victims claim that the Find My Phone app had been accurate enough to locate his devices within 5 feet of its location in the past, was able to obtain a warrant for the raid from a Denver County court judge. Once again, the app tells you we could be wrong. The screenshot in question, let's put it up. That's the screenshot. It shows the stolen iPhone was not last seen on Johnson's property, but somewhere near her home and the homes of at least 6 others. So what really happened here? They made a determination as to which one of these homes they needed to raid. They did that. And then they said, oh, no. The app told us precisely where. No, it did not. There's more. Apple's Find My app is not always clear on the exact location of a user's device. It instead offers an approximate location in these instances, as indicated by a radio article. Apple even recommends in its own legal process guidelines that law enforcement should request device locations through manufacturer and not the app. Johnson was placed in the back of a police car, okay? They detained her while they searched her property. Officers even destroyed some of her property, including a collectible doll and locks to her garage and shed, as well as standing on newly purchased furniture to search her attic. Now, if this grandmother is anything like my grandmother, the worst sin they committed was standing on that damn furniture, okay? Let's put up some of the destruction. This is so sad. This is so extreme. Look at this. A grandmother, 77 years old. After hours of searching, police found nothing incriminating and finally let her go. Hours, okay? No one apologized or explained the exact reason for the raid, according to the lawsuit. And Johnson says she was left physically and emotionally traumatized by the officers and their actions. Immediately following the raid, she spent the week at her daughter's home, who lived nearby, before spending the next 3 months with her son in Houston, Texas. She could not stand to go back there. Put up the picture of the chief. Chief Ron Thomas, Denver PD. The chief, you came out of a black woman yourself. You have a black grandmother yourself. What are you gonna do about these cops? They violated every protocol. You see that clearly. Even Apple says, hell, they violated the very protocols we lay out for law enforcement. What are you gonna do, Chief? We'll continue to follow this story as the lawsuit develops. Ms. Dahl, legal ramifications here, what say you?
First I want to say thank goodness she was safe, because as we saw with Breonna Taylor, these affidavits can end very dangerously. Somebody's home, they're not expecting to be raided by police. It could end very poorly. And the same thing happened with Breonna Taylor, is that bad information was included in the affidavit and the judge signed off on it. And I've talked about it, we've talked about this. If I'm a lawyer and I'm going into court and I lie to the court, there will be consequences. I will be disbarred. If a police officer is essentially lying to the court and trying to get a search warrant, there are no consequences. I mean, sure, technically on the books there are, but they are definitely not being aggressively pursued. And I think that what's the point of having a judge sign off on a search warrant? It's because we know this is inherently dangerous and people have a right to privacy. So we give it this extra level of security. Let's have the judge sign off on it. But if the police officer is going to commit a fraud on the court and give misleading or an outright lie and commit perjury, we need to make that a really severe penalty. Otherwise, there's no point in getting a judge to sign off on it.
You make such a great point. If a lawyer lies, that lawyer is at risk of being disbarred, meaning no more professional lawyer for you. But if a cop does it, maybe, maybe not. All right, we'll continue to follow. McDonald's, a franchisee, has been accused of child labor violations. Let me give you the background to this insanity. Let's put the picture of full mass here. This is so extreme. The Department of Labor announced Monday, 13 McDonald's, these are franchise locations in the Pittsburgh area, are now accused of violating child labor laws by allegedly employing 101 14 and 15-year-old employees outside of permissible work hours. There's more. The Facebook page for the franchisee states the family has been working in the McDonald's Corporation for over 40 years. The franchisee, all right, Santonets Tasso Enterprises LLC, we had to go through that a few times to get it right, which is owned and operated by John and Kathleen, all right? They paid a penalty of $57,000 plus after investigators with the department's wage and hour division allegedly found the violations at their 13 locations. Now, what does 13 mean? It means that it was systemic. It was not a mistake. It was not an administrative error. It was not a one-off. It was not the fault of maybe one particular manager or person. It was at all of the locations. The hour violations, the young employees were scheduled to work were as follows. Let's put this up. More than 3 hours per day, and after 7 p.m. on school days when the law forbids work beyond that time. Later than 9 p.m. on days between June 1 and Labor Day when they may legally work until 9 p.m. More than 8 hours on a non-school day and more than 18 hours a week during a regular school week. These failures led to violations of the Fair Labor Standards Act. There's more. Department officials also allegedly found an occupational violation at one of the 4 Pittsburgh locations where an employee under the age of 16, operated a deep fryer that was not equipped with a device to automatically lower and raise the baskets that creates a significant risk to a child. In a statement provided to NBC News, John and Kathleen said, and I quote, "We take our role as a local employer very seriously, and we regret any scheduling issues that may have occurred at our restaurants. Our biggest priority is always the safety and well-being of our employees. And we have since instituted a series of new and enhanced processes and procedures to ensure employees are scheduled appropriately." Let's put up the CEO. McDonald's corporate office, they did not immediately respond to NBC's request for comment. A spokesperson for the Department of Labor said officials do not reveal the reason that investigations are initiated. But that many investigations are initiated by confidential complaints, and that the division also monitors low-wage industries that typically have high rates of violations or employ vulnerable workers like children. The spokesperson also added, in addition to paying the fine, the enterprise had agreed to fully comply in the future with department regulations. The spokesperson added that the department does not disclose if they plan to investigate other McDonald's locations across the country. The violations follow more than 4,000 child labor violations the Department of Labor has identified affecting more than 13,000 minors from 2017 to 2021. This is what we know on record. There may be more things, but let's just deal with what we know on record. These are seasoned business owners. It's not as if they just jumped into ownership and all of a sudden they made a bunch of mistakes because they didn't know the rules. They have means, they have insight, they have ability, capacity, and they know what the hell they're doing as it relates to their corporations. They know the violations. They've been in it a long time. All of a sudden, this was just a scheduling issue. No, I don't buy that. All right, Ms. Dahl, thoughts here.
Well, I agree. The fact that it happened in so many of their locations. The fact is, the fact that why are these younger people even wanting to work? And it's because people aren't getting a living wage. And so all family members have to help. And it's that problem. There will always be a business owner or corporation willing to take advantage of a vulnerable person out there. Otherwise, we wouldn't have to have these laws if people were just willing to do the right thing. But we need to address the fact that these children should be in school. That's why they shouldn't work past 7 p.m. because they should be paying attention to school. And we know the reason why is usually because that family is looking for all the income they need to support it. And they're probably working multiple jobs, the parents themselves. We need to pay them a living wage. So that way the student, their children can just focus on school.
You make a very good point. A policy failure, which is, I think, the genesis of it, creates a vulnerability or desperation. And then you have a business owner who takes advantage of the desperation created by the policy failure. Okay, we're going to continue to follow as it develops. All right, welcome back. We have a lot of show left. Thank you for remaining. Okay, I'm going to read a couple of comments. Don't have time to read a lot. Bills, dragons, circles, the wagons. Dr. Richey, did you or Ms. Dahl see any of the arguments made in the Moore versus Harper case that was in the Supreme Court today? If so, what are your thoughts? Because to me, it doesn't look very good for democracy. I did not see those statements, but I know the case. Basically, the argument is, hey, a state legislature can abandon rule of democracy, sentiment of the people, and make their own decisions contrary to the Constitution. Ms. Dahl, what are your thoughts about that case?
Yeah, I did hear a lot of it today. I think it's gonna hinge on Amy Coney Barrett. I think she is the swing person. And ultimately, whether or not the check of the court can be on the legislator. That is what the kind of the essential question is. I think that it might be hopeful. She seemed, I thought, willing to keep a check, allowing the court to have a check on the legislator.
It's amazing this is even an argument, in my opinion. Okay. A predator teacher, right, did a lot of criminal activity against minors. Let's put a picture up full mass here. This is out of Georgia. Murray County school system administrator has been arrested and charged with child molestation for allegedly having a relationship with an underage student. Dr. Rachel Louise Terry, 43 years of age, of Chatsworth, Georgia, is accused of child molestation, statutory rape, and providing alcohol to minors. Terry, the former director of federal programs and enrollment for the county school system, was charged with 10 counts of furnishing alcohol to multiple minors during a Halloween party earlier this year. According to the Dalton Daily Citizen, the Murray County Sheriff's Office was alerted to the allegations on November 9th. Here is the sheriff. His name is Jimmy Davenport, okay? And the Murray County School Superintendent, Steve Lugridge. People in charge. Murray County Sheriff Jimmy Davenport said the complaint came from the Murray County School Superintendent. I believe there had been a parental complaint, said the sheriff, then turned the investigation over to the DA's office to avoid any perception of a conflict, the Daily Citizen reported. According to Davenport, school resource officers are employed by the Murray County Sheriff's Office. While investigating the Halloween complaint, the county DA uncovered the sexual relationship with the student. On November 23rd, Murray County DA, the office of Bert Poston, requested the Georgia Bureau of Investigation, that's the GBI, look further into the matter. Terry was then arrested on November 30th and booked into the county jail. A spokesperson for the county school system had this to say: "We are shocked, saddened to hear the criminal charges involving our employee. These are extremely serious charges. The safety and well-being of our students are always a top priority. Murray County Schools." Okay, make an example out of her. Make an example out of her, okay? Put the fear of whatever into anyone who would think to do something this insane. According to Fox Chattanooga affiliate WTVC, Terry is currently on contractual paid leave until a hearing to determine the status, all right? The investigation is active and ongoing. Authorities are asking anyone with information on the case to call the GBI Calhoun Field office at 706-624-1424 or 1-800-597-TIPS. Why do you think they're asking this question? Because they believe there's more. That's why they're asking this question. They believe there's more victims, more child victims. Okay, Ms. Dahl, thoughts on this?
Yeah, that's a great point. And I think the Me Too movement needs to come to high schools and colleges because harassment, and this is obviously even more than harassment, occurs whenever there is a power imbalance and there's vulnerability, which absolutely happens with students. I think it's actually much more common levels of harassment among students, and the Me Too movement, I think, needs to come, in this area.
All right. I'm about to highlight a story that shows you the reason why Karens will call the police on a black person for something non-criminal, because typically it actually works in their favor. Let me take you to this first video. Here it is.
Yeah. I'm calling the police. Yeah. Somebody help me. Help her. Somebody help me. Help her. Yeah, because I already told you, don't knock on my window. You're a Karen. Get the away from my car. Get the away from my car. Get the away from me, man, before I slap the out of you. I'm not playing.
I'm calling the police.
Call them. Call them.
I am.
Hi.
I got you on camera.
Yeah, you sure do.
I sure do.
Please get this lady.
James.
James. Come on, James.
Yeah,
come on, James.
He's got a tumor. It's like the size of a football.
Bitch, get the away from me. Stop
Leave me alone.
Why are you over here in my car? I don't. Bitch, get away from me. I'm not playing. I'm not with you.
I'm calling the police.
Call them, bitch, cause you steady with me. I don't know you.
I have more video, I have more background. This happened in Clearwater, Florida. This was about a black female who was in a parking spot, rightfully so, and the white female wanted the parking spot she was in. So she decided to come up to the car, knock on the window, etc. Okay, the poster, Nene, would then provide significant background on the incident as well as the update afterwards. Here it is.
Okay, so I was at the hospital and I had already left there and I got in the car. You know how you get in the car, you text the people back, you trying to plug your phone up, put in GPS, whatever. So I'm on my phone. I was actually on the phone and I was texting too at the same time. I had it on speaker. But the lady, I seen the lady come up to my window and she was like, and I'm like, man, this bitch crazy. Like, so I started ignoring her. That's when she was like, she started knocking on my window, and I had let the window down. I was like, bitch, get the fuck away from my car. So she started talking. She was like, your car is on. You need to come out of this parking spot. I want to park right here, yada, yada, yada. I was like, girl, bye. So I let the window up. And so probably like 5 minutes later, she drove around the parking lot. She went and found somewhere else to park. She came back and she went to the passenger window and she like back punched it. She ain't knocked. She like back punched it. It's like, yep, let me go ahead, start recording. And I just got out the car. So, like 4 or 5 months later, I'm at the driver's license place. You know, I'm getting my ID, and state troopers come up behind me and was like, I got a felony warrant. And basically, I went to jail for assault on an elderly person, injury to an elderly person. During that incident, I didn't have any warrants. I wasn't on the run, none of that, nothing. After her, I went to go get a driver's license, and then I went to jail because of the warrant, because of her. Yeah, basically. I didn't even know that it was a warrant out. I didn't even think that I was in trouble for any of that.
You see? Let's put up the picture of the Karen in this story. Identity of this woman is still unknown at this moment. Let me put up a picture of the Clearwater Police Chief, Mr. Daniel Slaughter. Chief Slaughter, I highly recommend after somebody sends you this video, somebody sends you this segment after we post it on social media, that you actually go back to the investigator, whoever was the lead investigator, update the file, present this evidence, and let's go ahead and relaunch this thing. Retract that criminal indictment or charge. Ms. Dahl, what does your legal mind tell you about what just happened?
I mean, it's shocking that in the investigation, they didn't even bother to talk to the person who this crime, who she allegedly committed the crime. Like, shocking, definitely dereliction of duty. And maybe there's some sort of connections in the police department. I don't know, I'm just guessing because it's so egregious.
I don't think there were any connections. I just think it was a white woman who said, this happened to me. It was a black woman, this is her license tag. And that's it. I really believe that's all that happened. And you make a great point about why. We're talking about a felony warrant. We're not talking about a misdemeanor. We're not talking about a summons to come to court for there to be an evidentiary hearing, all right? We're talking about straight out felony warrant. A felony warrant will upend somebody's whole life. And she found out about it while going through the normative processes you go through as a responsible adult. At this point, if it is proven that the woman filed a false police report, embellished the truth, all right, said things that were not accurate based on the record or the recording, what could happen on the other side of this?
I mean, it could be criminal, filing a false police report. She could also sue her civilly for that as well. And maybe there was some negligence from the police officer, again, for not following through to do the basic investigation of whether or not it was accurate what she told them.
All right, thank you for that. Always, Attorney Dahl, always a pleasure having you on the program. Tell people how they can follow you, check out your great work.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I always love talking about the issues with you. Ask Dina Dahl on all social media platforms, YouTube, TikTok, Twitter, Instagram.
There it is. Remember, take care of yourself, take care of each other, take care of the planet. Remember, the truth is always indisputable. Welcome to Indisputable. I'm your host, Dr. Rashad Richey. We got a lot happening today. But what do we do on this show? We tell the truth. You know why we tell the truth? Because the truth is simply indisputable.
Rashad, great to be here. Congratulations on the new show. And I gotta let everybody know that Rashad and I go way back.
Here's the pattern that we see in all of these Karen stories. They think they own stuff they do not own. Now, where does that come from? I don't know, maybe slavery. Maybe they think they should still own black people.
This is what happens when Karens weaponize the police.
When you're used to privilege, equality seems like oppression.
It hits you in a certain way when someone
is holding you against your will, treating you like you're a criminal and you're an innocent person. This is something that Black people face no matter where they are.
A stronger Black economy lends itself to a stronger, greater economy. Don't think it's exclusive of you, it's inclusive of you.
What's your beef with critical race theory?
It adds more fuel to the fire of the racist tendencies that we already have.
We have a generation of problem solvers that can remedy the problem if they are properly taught what the problem is.
You know who created redlining in this country? It was a white liberal.
I don't give a damn who created it. If it's a racist policy, Shelley, here's what I don't know. I don't know. See, there you go filibustering, brother. You're scared of this truth, but you're gonna get it though.